Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, and above sea level. I'm Russ Joy. That's Anthony SanFilippo. Over behind the glass is Intern Andrew, and we are joined this evening by the one and only, a guy who you have had great things to say about out in the comments section all year, which is pretty impressive given the state of social media these days.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I've been married for 20 years, so anytime anybody says anything nice about me, I'm all about it.
Had a guy. Adam Kimmelman is here. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready for a big game tonight. It's chilly in the rink, but I guess that means we're close to playoff time.
It's the coldest rink in hockey.
I don't get out to enough, but I hate to be at one that was colder. This place, I was just talking to Keith Jones, and I said, you have something that you can, you're the kind of person, you don't have to just complain, you can actually do something about this.
Yeah.
He said, wear a jacket. And you know what? I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
I might have to, but yeah.
Hey, by the way, before we really get started,
Yeah.
did I notice that we started early tonight?
Yeah, we did. I don't know if you happen to note today, we may have said on Twitter that we were starting at 6 o'clock with a guest, and most people got it, but not everybody did. If you're here looking for John Tortorella, guys, it's April Fools. It's April Fools. Most people got it. A few people were like, I can't believe they're going to bury the hatchet. Is he going to go up and apologize to Anthony SanFilippo? No, he's not.
And you know what the best part about that whole
An
thing
hour
was?
before game time?
Yeah, well, and that was the other thing. It was a dead giveaway. I said 6 o'clock on the Press Row Show. Yeah, he's not going to go get the team ready so he can come up here and hobnob and, you know, have a moment with Ant, have like a kumbaya. Going to get the guitar out, have some marshmallows roasting in front of the camera.
You know what the best part about that whole gag was? He didn't run it by me at all.
I don't have to.
Nice.
Not at all.
That's a good partner.
All of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up today. You're going to have Tortorella on the show, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
That would be amazing. It would be amazing if it actually happened, but yeah, I can't believe anybody actually would have fallen for that.
Unreal, Russell.
Yeah. So there you go. That's one thing going on. Hey, but since we have people here, I want to let people know, we're going to talk about this a bunch because we have a new design over at shop.snowthegoalie.com.
We have a new shirt.
We do. We have a new shirt, and I want to bring it up on screen because this is one, like, there are some times where, like, we've done a design, and I'm like, I think that one will do well. But then we had this one, and I'm like, this is going to do well. So, ladies and gentlemen, he's not in net tonight, but he will be in net likely this weekend. And that, of course, is Ivan Fedotov. And now you can get the Iron Giant, this beautiful shirt, over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. I mean, it's pretty much to scale. You can see that this giant, the crossbar is at hip height. He's got that number 82, not taking Claude Giroux's 28. Got the backwards R. Don't ask me what the Cyrillic letter name is. I don't remember, but I think it does make a yus sound. So it's not really the Iron Giant. Let's not get caught up in semantics, all right? As the resident polyglot here, I'm just going to say, don't get caught up in it. Just live your best life and enjoy it. But
He called himself a polyglot.
I am a polyglot.
I know what it means,
What?
but who uses that term?
Somebody who studied languages?
I thought we were just talking about hockey.
Yeah. Anyway, this
The language of hockey. That's the one language he can't speak.
That's exactly right. So this is now available over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Go out of your way. Go pick up a shirt. You can show your support for the big Russian netminder. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think we might put this on a sweatshirt, on a hoodie. I don't know. But for now, we have it on the shirt. It's on black. It's on two different kinds of gray, white, and orange. We wanted to make sure that we had to kind of go the full palette, the full color palette of what most Flyers fans like to wear down here. If you want the premium t-shirt, the tri-blend option, you shoot me a DM and I'll add it to the store. But for right now, this is on that classic tee that a lot of our more popular shirts have been printed on. Again, shop.snowthegoalie.com. Please go buy one. It will pay for Intern Andrew to have better headphones, maybe. Or not. Anyway.
All right.
That's what we've got going on
Can we
over
get to
there.
the game
Yeah,
now,
I
Russ?
guess. Listen, I guess we can. Sure.
I guess this is what happens when you start early. You got to waste time.
I'm not wasting
Before we
time.
get to the time that we normally start talking about hockey.
We're getting into the nitty gritty here
Yeah.
on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show.
So the Flyers.
We have 173 people on YouTube right now. We have more across all platforms. We have 173, which in fairness, we're only about 50 short of where the Cuz was today on his 3rd episode. Anyway.
Wow.
Listen, I talked about this on Crossing Broadcast today. I'm just saying, it's a lot of,
You are just
Best of
pushing
luck.
buttons galore today.
I'm not
All
pushing
right,
buttons. Listen,
here we
I'm
go.
just saying what needed to be said.
That's right. So 8K. Flyers Looks like they're going with a whole new, well, not a whole new, but a lot of changes to the lineup tonight.
It's an interesting choice. Sean Couturier looks like he's going to start the game at center between Tyson Forrester and Travis Konechny, and Couturier has 1 goal in his last 32 games. Not for lack of trying. I thought the line with Couturier and Ole Lycksell and Noah Cates, I thought was incredibly noticeable in their first 2 games together. And then Lycksell came out of the lineup, and Noah Cates came out of the lineup for reasons. I thought that line was very good. I think Couturier has looked somewhat better. I think in limited ice time, I think if you can keep him in that 14-minute-a-game night, I don't know if you can keep him with your top dogs all night, but if you can get him in there and get him going, that would be great. And then putting Cam Atkinson with Morgan Frost and Owen Tippett, we're up to 27 games, including the 10 that he was scratched, I believe, without a point for Cam Atkinson, dating to January 25th. You have to hope putting him back in the lineup, putting him with, again, 2 of your top 6 forwards, is going to maybe be the spark that Atkinson uses to get going. They certainly need it. They certainly will be a better team if they can get those guys producing to their offensive previous levels. It's going to be maybe a little bit of a stretch at this point in the season, but I think the Flyers are at a spot now where you got to try some different things to get guys going and to get more guys going.
I look at it, Adam, as there's a lot of pressure on the team right now, right? You were in a comfortable playoff spot. You fell out of the 3rd place, and you're now into the wild card spot. You got teams breathing down your neck. It's getting to the nitty-gritty with just a handful of games left. I think that they're looking at it and saying, let's rely on veteran players who've been in this spot before, who know how to win at this time of year, and get them into more key positions and hope that they can do it in place of the young guys who maybe have struggled a little bit.
Well, certainly, and those are the guys that have that institutional knowledge who are going to know they're not going to be intimidated or surprised by anything that happens in these games because they've all been through it. Cam Atkinson has played in the playoffs a few times. Sean Couturier has played in the playoffs multiple times over the years, where guys like Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee and Owen Tippett have not. So they're not going to be surprised or overwhelmed by anything that comes at them this time of the year. So yeah, there's some sound logic behind that, but at the same time, and John Tortorella has said this certainly going back to before Sean Couturier came out of the lineup, was that I have to play the best 20 guys on every night to give our team a best chance of winning. And if he sees that Couturier and or Atkinson or anyone else for that matter isn't going, their ice time will get caught, and you'll see those lines get shuffled, and it could happen, it could happen in the middle of the first period. That's just the kind of coach he is. He's a very feel-based coach, and if he has a feeling that something isn't working or doesn't like the way something looks, he has no hesitation about changing it and cutting guys' ice time.
Yeah, and another thing is that, as you know, Adam, at this time of year, games are played differently, right? It's a much tougher place to find space on the ice. There's guys are selling out a lot more to block shots, things along those lines. It just becomes harder to score.
But for sure, and especially against a team like the New York Islanders, who have made their bread and butter, a lot of those guys, on their skill in being a defensive-oriented team. They're going to face a goalie who is experienced, who's been through it, in Semyon Varlamov. This Islanders defense, their top 4 with Pelican, Pulick, and Dobson, that's a pretty good group. They're a pretty smart group that is very well equipped at playing both ends of the ice. So, to your point, there is not a lot of space out there, and they have some guys who have been squeezing it a little bit, like we saw Travis Konechny had a clean breakaway the other night, and he shot it high and wide of the net. Now, he was getting a little bit of pressure from behind, but he completely missed the net. There were guys in the last game who had open nets on the power play, open nets from in close against Chicago that missed the net. You have to at least make the goalie make a save. So they need to, guys, they look, I don't know if they look nervous or not, but they're squeezing the stick a little bit. Maybe they need just a little bit of a break here, and again, that's maybe goes back to putting Sean Couturier and Cam Atkinson a little bit higher up in the lineup to start. Maybe it gives those guys, other guys, a little bit of a chance to ease into the game a little bit, find their footing, and then maybe shift it into gear after 2 or 3 shifts. maybe get a little bit more puck luck tonight.
We also got Nick Delorier playing on the third line tonight.
Well, it's you're hoping to get a spark. You're hoping, the Islanders are a team that have certain players that like to play a certain way,
yep.
and Nick Delorier, serves as maybe, I guess you could say, a bit of a deterrent against some other guys in the Islanders, Matt Martin and Cal Clutterbuck, for example, and you kind of take that element out of their game, or at least you equalize it. But I can't imagine that Nick Delorier is going to get, I don't think he's going to be skating 18 or 19 minutes tonight.
No.
He's going to go out there and he's going to get a shift. And in his defense, he has not looked bad. He's been good getting in on the forecheck. He's been able to skate and use some of his speed a little bit to kind of help create plays and keep pucks deep in the offensive zone. And that's really all they need him to do. They don't need him to go out and be a goal scorer. They need him to play simple, straight lines, create havoc, and when you have the chance to play a body against one of those Islanders defensemen, take advantage of it.
Jamie Drysdale.
I was
back in the lineup.
just about to bring him up.
I got this.
Look at you.
What you're doing over there.
No, I'm good. We're back. We out here. We're good.
Jamie Drysdale back in the lineup tonight, Adam. There was a question as to whether or not he would make it back before the end of the season. Here he is, April 1st, getting back into the lineup. Do you think that there's a concern that maybe he's not quite 100%, but close enough that it's desperation time and we really need to shore up that blue line, get him back in?
Well, I asked John Tortorella this morning, and I said, was he, restricted in any way? And he's like, if he didn't have his full medical clearance, he wouldn't be on the ice. So
we know what that means.
What does that mean,
well,
Anthony?
Whatever the upper body injury was, it's healed enough that he's able to be in the lineup.
Healed enough
now,
is correct.
And I asked Jamie this morning, did it give whatever other bumps and bruises he might have been playing through a little bit of a chance to heal? And he said, sure, that's certainly, and I think he takes it he's a little more sensitive to it because of all the time he has missed. All the 10 games last season because of the shoulder injury. Now he's missed another, 4 weeks with this upper body injury. He's watched a lot of hockey rather than play a lot of hockey.
I'll say it. It's a shoulder injury. It's okay.
Well,
I know you can't, but that's right.
It's been out there for a long time that it was a shoulder injury.
Well, we all watched the video, and you can see, you can make your best guesstimate without a medical degree.
His shoulder was dropped. His arm was unable to move. It was his knee.
But he said he feels well enough to play, and that you can only take the guys at their word. And he said he's very excited. He's especially excited to be back in there with Nick Seeler tonight, and because he said that will allow him to really use the offensive skills that made him such a desirable prospect coming out of junior, because he is a dynamic offensive player when he has the puck, when he's healthy, when he gets the legs going. So if he can add something to the offense, 5-on-5 and on the power play especially, that'll be a huge benefit to what they're trying to accomplish out there, especially on the power play, which, look, it's last in the league. You can't really sugarcoat it. Rocky Thompson, the assistant coach who oversees the power play, he said it himself that it wasn't very good. So, if Jamie Drysdale can come in and add anything to that, that'll be a huge advantage for them.
Sam Erson making yet another start tonight. In net tonight. Fedotov is still probably not going to play until the weekend.
Unless the wheels fall off here early.
Right, he has to come in as a backup, right?
God help them if Fedotov has to come in tonight. It means that it's a 4-point game tonight.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
Realistically.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
If he comes in, it means things have gone horribly wrong.
Has Sam hit a little bit of a wall in your mind?
Well, I think so. I think it's kind of obvious. He's played far more games than anyone with the organization anticipated, but this is the situation they're in. And one of the things that has stood out about Erson is his ability to bounce back, his ability to park bad games or bad moments and be better after he has a lackluster outing. And that's what they're going to need tonight. And look, he's going to be the guy. If they get into the playoffs come game one, he's going to be the starter. Again, unless something goes really, really wrong, He is going to be the guy for them down the stretch here. They have one set of back-to-backs left coming up here this weekend. You have to assume Fedotov's going to get one of those games. Whether he gets more after that, I would assume depends on how he does in that one game when he gets it. So we're going to see, but I think they really need Ersin to be the guy that he was for most of the season. He's got to figure out a way, like the rest of the team, find that extra energy, find that last little bit of gas in the tank, and get them where they need to be.
You tell him, Ogie.
I didn't bash Ersin. When did I bash him?
Ogie.
When did I bash Ersin?
You haven't bashed him.
I didn't bash him. I said that if you see Fedotov tonight, it means something has gone horribly wrong, which would be true.
Yeah.
Because Tortorella said when at his first media availability, since they had announced that Fedotov was stateside and was going to be the backup, that he didn't know what they had in Fedotov, and that's why he defers to Kim Dillabaugh for those decisions and for the goaltending, coaching prowess and all that. So I don't think that there was ever a scenario, like even the other night, Bundy and I kind of went back and forth up here during the game about the possibility of him getting in, and Bundy was like, well, if you give up a fifth really quickly in that third period, like do they make the move? And I said no, because one, I don't think Fedotov is physically ready at that point. They probably wanted to get him the rest of the week and get him the weekend and everything to ramp up for this upcoming weekend. But also, I do wonder if there is at least a little bit of thought to, you don't want to get in Ersin's head. He's been your guy throughout the season. He's been the guy that you've really had to turn this thing over to relatively unexpectedly, and it might actually send a bad message to him to pull him the other night. Not every goal was a good one that he gave up, but there is something about, like, he's built equity with the coach, he's built equity with the team, and you can't just throw that away, even if you're about to lose a game that you shouldn't have lost to Chicago.
Well, you heard Danny Briere say it last Friday when they had the press conference live, and that they talked to Sam. They kept him in the loop the whole time.
Yep.
They said, you're our guy. Like, we're not here playing these meaningful games in a playoff spot without Sam Ersin playing the way he's played. So they're far from giving up on him.
Yep.
But at the same time, every goal is so precious, for and against, that if you run into a tough spot, you have to be willing to put that guy in. That being said, I think you want him to get at least one full, legitimate practice in, and they're going to have an opportunity here, because after tonight, they don't play again until Friday. So you've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're going to have at least one practice in that time. Everybody on the ice, everybody going. It's going to give Fedotov a real opportunity, because, look, let's remember, he still doesn't understand what it's like to play with NHL caliber traffic in front of him. He doesn't know what it's like to play the angles and the pucks off the glass and the pucks off the boards with the narrower ice. It's going to be an entirely different experience for him. He has to go through it, and practice will give him, like, nothing's going to replicate game speed, but practice will at least give him the opportunity to learn what that's like, having guys, in his kitchen, bumping him, which he doesn't get playing over in Russia.
The Islanders have lost 8 of 10 coming into this game, Adam, and somehow they're still in this thing. And I can't begin to fathom to understand how that's happened, because they weren't a good team before losing 8 of 10. Yeah, okay. And now they've lost. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10 games. What do you see from this team that they find themselves in a spot where, like, they win this game and all of a sudden it's like we're just 2 points behind or whatever, 4 points behind the Flyers.
If they win, if they beat 3,
they 3 behind the Flyers with 2 games in hand.
They have excellent goaltending.
Yeah.
Either guy is capable of being a number one, Sorokin or Varlamov, who we're going to see tonight.
Right.
That's where it starts for them. And then you look at when their top guys are going, they're a really tough team. Matt Barzal is probably a top 15 player in the league when you look at his skill set. Brock Nelson is 1 goal short of scoring 30. Bo Horvat, maybe it's been a little bit of a struggle for him recently, but still a really, really good player. They have a lot of really good players, and when you have that kind of goaltending, it gives you so much more confidence to attack and to be that team. Now, certainly they have issues. You look at their penalty kill, it's the worst in the league. They're allowing a lot of goals. They're not scoring to their capability. But you could have said the same thing about Chicago the other night, and you saw what they did to the Flyers. And the same thing about Montreal, you saw what they did to the Flyers. You saw what, San Jose was in here 2 weeks ago. They're not a very good team. You saw what they nearly did to the Flyers. So, the Flyers have shown a very worrisome ability or inability to play to their level of competition. And the Islanders are a bit of a struggling team, as Montreal and Chicago were, and you saw what happened. So these are games that it's easy to say it's a must-win game because you can look at the calendar and say that, but these are teams below them in the standings that they've worked very hard to get ahead of, and they need to stay ahead of, and you don't want to, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, you don't want to play 65 really, really good games and have the finish line in sight and not get there. You've done the work to this point. You want to get there and make it all worthwhile. And right now it's a struggle to see them getting to the point to make it all worthwhile. But a win tonight would go a really long way towards getting them back on track.
I think so too. I think if you lock it down tonight, you're in a good spot. Because Detroit's another team that's really kind of floundering at this point, right? And the Islanders are really the only other team. I mean, I guess the Devils have a real outside shot.
They're technically still getting
game
in hand.
They have a game in hand, and they play the Flyers head-to-head yet again,
Next to last game of the year.
So there is that. That's a 4-point game, and you say you get the other 2, and really you only have to make up 2 points in the other 6 games. Okay, fine. So they're technically there, but if the Flyers win tonight, that puts them even further out. You probably push New Jersey out. You probably push the Islanders out. And really, that becomes only the Red Wings, and they're a floundering team. So that's why this game is so important for the Flyers.
Well, I think you're leaving out Washington, and you're talking about 3 teams for 2 spots here.
Well, yeah, but Washington, I think, is in a better spot.
Well, I think you look at their schedule these last 7 or 8 games. While they do have 2 games in hand on the Flyers, I think they have a more difficult schedule going here down the stretch. And it very well could come down to that last game of the season, which is Flyers Capitals in this building on April 16th? 17th.
Yep.
Harkening back to 2010.
Well, again, we've all and right? There was a certain coach who was part of that.
Yep.
Now he's on the other side of it if it gets to that point. But it's I think you're right in that there's 3 teams for those 2 spots, and I think it's the 3 teams: Washington, Philadelphia, and Detroit. 2 of those teams are going to get in, and 1 is going to go home. And it's going to come down to, very well could come down to 17th to see which of those 2 teams are going to get in and who's going to go home sad.
And the thing is that, but if the Islanders win tonight, they're somehow still right there. They put themselves back in the conversation.
Right, but you could say that about the Flyers. How are they still in it with a minus 20-something goal differential? Mm-hmm. Washington with a minus 30-something goal differential. Detroit, which has struggled, and you really, again, you could ask the question, how are they there? You could ask that about Washington, how are they there? The Flyers, the Islanders, even New Jersey, how are these teams still there? And yet they still are.
Yeah.
Because somebody's got to get in, and they've played well enough in enough stretches to give themselves an opportunity to play meaningful games in the last 3 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, I'll tell you what, it might not be the most beautiful hockey. It might not be the 1976 Montreal Canadiens every night, but it is going to be so much fun to watch these teams just attack each other and really try to, fight tooth and nail to get one of those spots.
The thing that's especially scary, though, is you go back to the Jersey game, the next to last game of the season. At that point, Jersey will probably be out of it. Like right now, you look at it and say, all right, they have a game in hand, and I think they're 6-back of the Flyers.
Yeah.
And you go, all right, well, there are ways to get them back into the possible conversation. But it's more likely than not they'll be out of it by that game. But they're not going to roll over in that one.
No.
They're going to have the chance to play spoiler potentially for this Flyers team. And so when you look at it, you go, those last 2 games really are going to be must-wins, which is kind of, I think, what actively ramps up the necessity to win this game, and not just win it, but to win it in regulation.
For sure, and that's the key there, right? Winning it in regulation without giving them a point. And to your point, that New Jersey team, there's a lot of talent on that team. There's also a lot of guys playing for contracts, including the coach, who wants to stay the coach. And this is a wonderful opportunity for him to put on his resume that I maybe knocked out one of your biggest rivals. And winning games is important for them down the stretch for their reasons. So they're going to want to push, and they're going to want to do what they can to get all the wins that they can get, because a lot of those guys want to stay in the NHL and they want to stay in New Jersey because they can see the future in that franchise. If they get the goaltending they need, that's good. There's little doubt that's a championship caliber organization if they get the goaltending they need.
So who wins the battle between the worst power play in the league and the worst penalty kill in the league?
Let's hope it just stays 5-on-5 for 58. Let's say 55 of the 60 minutes tonight, and I think we'll all be winners at that point.
Adam, if you had to pick the game, who do you got tonight?
You know, I think the Flyers are due. I think there's going to be some built-up anger. I think having yesterday off, and Cam York kind of remarked on it a little bit. He said it wasn't so much giving their bodies a rest, it was giving their minds a chance to rest. And I think that's kind of where they are right now. Everybody's played 70-plus games, so everybody's really tired. Everybody's really beat up. Everybody's playing through bumps and bruises no matter what team you're on. But if you can just have that mental refresh, and I think putting Jamie Drysdale back in the lineup and having a second pair that the coaching staff can really depend on, so you don't have to play Cam York 24-plus minute for an 18th straight game, play Travis Sanheim 24 minutes for a 17th straight game, or I think it's 13th straight game, whatever it is. You don't have to play those guys every other shift. You can get Sealer and Drysdale out there and ease some of the load on those guys. John Tortorella said this morning they're taking Cam York off the power play solely because they want to find a way to take some of his minutes away, to let him, kind of rest the body a little bit more in games. So I think the Flyers are ready for a kind of bounce back effort. I think there's some anger there from what happened the last two games. I think they're due.
Score?
I'll go 3-1 solely because I root against overtime. That's really, and that is such a writer thing to say.
Yeah.
And for fans at home who love exciting, nail-biting one-goal game hockey, everybody loves that except the people covering the game, who then have to have their lead on, rewrite duty 3 and 4 and 5 times.
As the Associated Press reporter tonight,
yeah.
I agree with you.
Exactly. All I do is
Shaw.
I root against overtime.
Yes, no overtime.
Now that I've totally jinxed it for all of us.
Yeah, we're done.
Yes.
I'm screwed tonight. Thanks, Adam.
We all are.
Well, a big thank you, Adam, for coming on the show, and we look forward to having you again, maybe even as the team perhaps makes the playoffs. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
It would certainly be nice to see hockey here in middle of April. It's been quite a while.
Especially since we don't know if the team across the street is going to get to the playoffs anytime soon.
Well,
I'm glad I didn't listen to your show earlier today. I would have been really angry.
I just,
I'm listening to you guys, but I'm watching Bryce Harper hit. So there you go.
The big thing here, Adam, is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but SanFilippo over here has been, he's been carrying the laundry, carrying the bag for Mr. Aaron Nola, who didn't exactly have a great first start of the season.
I just like the fact that he's at a hockey game with an American coach and at a baseball game with a Canadian coach. Do you get confused?
That's good.
You get confused?
My favorite thing, though, was talking to these guys about that whole thing down in Clearwater when I was down there. They all knew about it. They all knew about the Tortorella thing.
Oh, okay.
Every guy in there, that I talked to, they all knew about it.
I'm glad they watched the show.
They were making jokes about it and everything. It was great.
I'm glad they watched
on the
NBC
Philly
Sports
side of things.
Yeah, the Phillies side.
Well, how about that? All right. Allison L, by the way, checks in with the standings on the fan predictions. 192 people are participating. Alex Town and Mike Boots in there with 21 points. Boots.
Mike Butts.
Boots.
21.
Boots.
And
We'll just go with Mike.
Yeah. And Flyers, Eric.
14. Eric Jacobson, 13.
Andrew
Didi Skinner.
Jacobson.
Sorry, I can't read today. Didi Skinner, 11. Greg Mack, 10. Matt Bennick, 9. Tim Tobin also with 9. Crimson Cade coming on late. I don't remember seeing Crimson Cade before.
Crimson Cade's rocking it out.
Is that his secret identity, or is that his superhero identity, Crimson Cade?
I don't know. It's pretty good. We actually have a fan, Allison, who has been tracking 192 different fans' predictions since after the All-Star.
It's just on the screen.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
I mean, sure. Everybody needs a hobby.
Excellent stuff.
Good stuff.
All right, anyway, Adam, enjoy the night, and I'm sure we'll talk to you very soon.
Absolutely. Sounds good, guys.
Adam Kittleman, NHL.com. Read him every day. Good stuff there,
every
as
day,
always.
every night, every afternoon, every morning. The man knows his hockey, which is what it's all about in this life. All right, Ant, you weren't here the other night. It was very sad without you. Bundy and I caused some mayhem. We might have gotten a few people in trouble. It was totally fine. Nothing to worry about. How does it, what? What was the shaking of the head for?
What did you guys do?
Well, nothing. We didn't do anything. Everything was totally fine. We definitely didn't cause any problems. It was perfectly fine up here.
Okay.
I have to ask you about Drysdale.
Yeah.
We've had this conversation quite a bit over the last couple of, month and a half since he went out about, all right, if and when you feel like there's a chance that he can come back, you need to make sure he is at 100%. Now, you kind of did the whole thing where it's like, yeah, he's cleared. He's cleared enough to be able to play. And actually, you know what? Bundissimo is on his way over here. And I want to make sure that we have him on for this part, too, because as the former player, he knows what it's like to not be fully healthy as you're about to get into a playoff stretch. So we'll bring on Bundy down on the end. Chris Therien is here. He's
Hello, everybody.
An absolute stud. As Gritty shows up over both of your shoulders.
Dude, I just saw that. I saw like his mug in there. I'm like, what the hell's he doing there? I'm probably looking behind saying, is Gritty really there? Hey, Ant, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Bundy. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you, too.
Yeah. Good to be back.
Sweet. You guys are matching, too, the blue. I like that.
Yeah, we called each other.
Yeah, blue sweaters.
Sweet. So, Bundy, we were talking about Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah.
And a little bit ago when Adam Kimmelman was here, he and Ant were kind of commiserating that, you know, for a guy to come back from the kind of injury that he had, Torts said that he was cleared by doctors, and Ant kind of said, well, he's healthy enough, right, to get cleared. We've talked about this for 6 weeks or so. I don't know when the injury first happened, but we talked about it. We said, if and when he's able to come back, you have to kind of do that short-term gain if you're in playoff contention versus long-term damage potential if he comes back too soon and really does re-aggravate that shoulder injury that cost him significant time in Anaheim and obviously has cost him a good chunk of his time post acquisition by the Flyers. Are you concerned at all about the decision to bring him back in, assuming that he's not 100%, or is it a situation where you say you have to do whatever you can, you have to sell out, and based on losing back-to-back games, every point matters, this is a 4-point game, you get him in there?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing like insinuation that, they lost 2, they have to get him back in.
Yeah.
He had to get cleared, like no shoulder, a doctor is going to look at a guy, is going to say, his shoulder's not good, but he's good enough to go. So, listen, he's here. He's a member of the team. If he's healthy to play, get in there and play. Like, I'm going to be honest with you, there's so much coddling that goes on in the world today. If you're healthy, play. He's healthy, he's playing. Again, when I have a guy in a lineup, I'm not putting him out to protect him.
Yeah.
Someone said, let the hockey gods protect him. Okay, well then ask the hockey gods. But if I'm the coach, I'm not there to protect the player. I'm there to use the player to win a hockey game. That's it. There's no, and again, it's not Drysdale's fault the team has stunk the last 2 games.
Yeah.
It's not, and again, when you look at this lineup tonight, I'll just get in just looking at it. This is everything against what Torts has preached for a month and a half has come to this tonight. You're elevating Couturier back to the top. You've got Cam Atkinson in the top 6 on the power play. You got your defense back in Drysdale. This is not what he was selling to the team, but in a desperation mode, it's incredible how the lineup goes back to October 15th.
I agree.
Isn't that interesting? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. It's right in front of us. There's no conspiracy theory.
camera agrees with you,
Torch
too.
has been hammering guys. The guys that he's gone do the worst are Atkinson, Frost, and Couturier. Who's he asking the most from tonight? Couturier and Atkinson.
Yeah.
Of anyone. Like Atkinson, there's 3 other guys that could be in the lineup tonight. They're not.
Agree.
Anybody else agree, disagree?
No, I agree. I agree with you a lot there, Bundy. We talked about that earlier, and I was just a little perplexed with going Atkinson and Delorier. Look, I understand why you're trying to get a little bit of offense out of Couturier, so maybe if you put him with 2 offensive-minded players, he may not play every shift with them, but maybe if you play most of his shifts with them, maybe you get something. I think this is, when you say desperation, I think what this is, and I said to Adam, I think it's a situation where you are trying to get into the playoffs and your younger players who you're taking out of the lineup maybe don't quite understand how the game has changed at this time of year, and you want to rely on guys who've been there before, whether or not they are the more talented players at the current moment. And so I think that's what it is more than it is like, oh my God, we stink.
But
we got to make change for change's sake.
But I understand that. But that's not what we've seen, right?
You're right.
He was doing it his way until his way wasn't working anymore.
Correct.
So now we got to put Coots back up the top.
No, you're right.
That's what happened.
It's definitely a change.
Everybody in the building knows
it's definitely a change.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is not what he's been coaching.
Yeah.
He's done everything opposite.
The idea has been meritocracy. You earn the time that you get, and if you haven't earned it, you don't get it.
What has Atkinson done to earn power play time if you're going on a game-to-game basis?
He hasn't.
I love Coots. Well, what's Coots done to earn top first line today? I'd have him there anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a personality there and a guy that wants to shove it up the coach's rear end, and that's part of this. You know, Torch is probably hoping he does too, because then he'll look like a genius again. But right now, I'm telling you, there's a veteran-laden lineup. It worked in October, and the Islanders, whether you like them or not, and I hope that this doesn't work out tonight for the Islanders. They've been to the 2 conference finals in the last 3 or 4 years, so they know what it's like to be here this time of year. The Flyers have to be ready for that. That's what Anthony said. Drysdale has no idea what playoff hockey's like at all, or even how much everything's been ramped up to this level. So I'm not saying. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is that this is like everything's gone back to what worked and the messaging stopped, because this ultimately is what worked early in the year.
Yeah. All right, we will be back. First intermission, second intermission, and post-game.
We'll put our picks out on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll do the picks on Twitter. We ran out of time, and that's okay.
Let's do them now. We got a second.
No, we don't. They're about to do the national anthem. We do have to go. All right, we'll put them out on Twitter. Bye. Dun, 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 dun. The Ride of the Valkyries. Welcome in to the first intermission show here on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show, the side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, and above sea level. Flyers had a lead, had being the key word. Not only did they have it, they didn't have it very long, and what became a tie game ended up getting flipped on its head into a 2-1 lead by the Islanders. Not great after the first period. Gentlemen, let's get into it. We have a bunch of things happening in this intermission, by the way. It's going to be a loaded show. We'll hopefully be able to get through all of this in 16 and a half minutes.
And then adding in insult to injury, or the other way around. Sean Couturier goes into the boards, shoulder first, and Bundy saw it right away. He said he's in trouble. And right away. And he slowly skated towards the bench as the second goal was being scored and went right down the tunnel. Looked like he couldn't even move his right arm.
Yeah, it does not look good there. And I mean, again, that's the guy that tonight gets stuck back into the top of the lineup and went hard into the boards. This is one of those periods where I thought the Flyers really did. It had a good start, but you can't let 2 goals in like that.
And in such quick succession, too.
They're just 2 absolute brutal goals. And again, I know it's bad terminology to use the word brutal, but I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
I mean, those can't go in at this time of year.
No, and they're shooting. It's like everybody's shooting the same thing. They're shooting glove side, right, on him. And it's how many of those have we seen now where it hits his glove and goes into the net? Like he just misses catching it. I don't know if it's a millisecond of he's off and it doesn't get the glove into position. And it just deflects behind him. You just can't let those goals in.
No, not at the times where the team has had a lead. They came out and did exactly what you want. And we all know the numbers when they have a lead after 1. Again, now they're behind and they got to chase the hockey game. They haven't had a power play. The Islanders' power play was not good. But this is just, again, you worry about things in a hockey game and tonight you're worrying yourself if you're the defenseman that every shot that hits the net has a chance to go in. And that's what becomes kind of a scary proposition in a game like this.
It's not great. They're like, I don't even know where to take the show at this point because, we talked about it. Like, this is a 4-point game in the standings. You lose in regulation tonight, you go from 5 points up to 3, and they still have 2 games in hand. You have Washington already ahead of you. You have the last game of the year against Washington. And it makes those losses to Montreal and Chicago look even worse and even more problematic. Now, look, the game is not over by any stretch. All right? Bundy, I swear, we said the exact same thing in the first intermission of last game as well, where it's like, hey, 20 minutes down, you still have 40 to go.
Yeah.
You're not ruling anything out. But they haven't done much. They've lost 4 straight games. They haven't done a whole lot over those 4 games to instill a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to pull the nose up on this thing. And again, they need to win this, not only win it, but win it in regulation to make sure that you get the full benefit of the 2 points.
Yeah, and the Islanders don't give up much. They've had trouble scoring goals of late, and there they are. They get 2 in the first that probably didn't deserve, but it's 2-1 Islanders, and the Flyers have their work cut out for them yet again.
And we were talking about that. Russ is saying it's a 4-point game, and he's not wrong. We talked about this a little bit pregame, Bundy. If the Flyers win tonight, you basically eliminate the Islanders and the Devils.
Yes. You're knocking 2 teams out with 1 win.
You knock 2 teams out with 1 win.
Yep.
But if you lose the game, you keep both teams in the race, and they have an opportunity to get that much closer to you.
Absolutely.
That's how big this game is.
As I said it earlier in one of the other shows, this is the biggest game of the year. Every next game is the biggest, especially when you lose. They become magnified.
Yep. Yeah.
You're supposed to do your job the other night in Chicago, win that game. Yeah, I don't want to say you're breathing easier here tonight, but you got a little bit of a space, right?
Right.
Tonight you're finding yourself in must-win games.
Yes.
Must win.
Yes. I think you almost kind of lose your controlling your own destiny after tonight. I would have to really look at the numbers, but I think it's possible that even though they would still be in a playoff spot, that they would not be in the control your own destiny spot because of the games in hand.
Correct.
The fine folks out there, they might be a little bit upset right now. They might be thinking, hey, you know what? I don't know. Sam Emerson doesn't seem like the guy. Would really love to see Ivan Fedotov. You can start to show your support early. Head over to shop.snowthegoalie.com and pick up our newest design, the Iron Giant. See that backwards are? Smart. It's good stuff. The Iron Giant, now available over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. And you know what? We did what we always do. We tried to make something that's fun, we tried to make something that's enjoyable. We've got orange, white, 2 different grays, and black, so pick the color that fits your heart's desire. Ladies and gentlemen, shop.snowthegoalie.com, the Iron Giant. Bundy, last game, you and I kind of went back and forth during the game, and you're like, you give up another quick goal, you might have to think about pulling the goalie.
Yeah.
Given where things are right now, and given the importance of this game, is there any kind of scenario where you try to pull the goalie to get a jump in this one, or is it still just too risky with a guy who hasn't played a competitive game in 3 weeks?
I always say, Russ, Gretzky got traded from the Oilers. Anything can happen. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
And again, that's listen, Torch shook up the lines and reverted them to what he felt would be the best option for a playoff type lineup. And that was what was sent out here tonight. So again, it's an opportunity for the Flyers to do the right thing. And if Urson lets 2 more in like that, of course, you have to consider putting another goalie in just to shake up the chemistry of the team.
Yeah.
Somebody asked what goes on in the locker room right now. Not a lot. There's not a lot said. Like, okay, guys, keep your heads up. Like, let's go. We got 40 minutes. Let's get ready for the second. It's pretty basic. It's not like everybody's got laying out game plans and you're doing X's and O's. You're not doing anything like that. Except encouraging each other to have a better second period. Some guys don't talk at all, but I don't think Torch is going to come peel the paint off the wall in this game, because really it was your goaltender. You got to keep the team positive in moments like this.
Yeah, makes sense. Bundy, I know that there was somebody that you wanted to bring on here.
We're going to bring on we have a new segment called the Concerned Fan.
Love the Concerned Fan.
Our Concerned Fan, super fan, Flyers Eric the other night, but we got a guy that actually has Rick Slinger. Come on in here, buddy. You sit down. Put this on here.
I thought Bundy just spilled his water all over it, but he didn't.
Yeah, no, he's good. Hey, Rick, how you doing, bud?
Okay, how you doing?
Good. You're from Slingers, right?
That's correct, Reading, PA.
Slingers
Up in
in Reading.
Rick, now I don't have the headset on. He does, but he has, without question, the greatest Flyers sports bar in the history of sports bars. Like, I'm not talking just good. They couldn't put one in here that would be as good as Rick's. And I mean it. Rick, how did you ever do that? And how, I mean, so people that see my regular Snow the Goalie when I do it from my house, you'll see the background. That's Rick's bar that I use as my back filler. And it is spectacular, sir.
Took about 15 years. It keeps on growing. And it was featured on NBC Sports. It was in the Business Insider as one of the top 15 man caves in the country. It's just a passion for the Flyers.
You've had Snow the Goalie on the screens there, right?
And my next picture is going to actually have your logo to the left of the picture. It's going to be part of the picture, the logo, my next photo.
How about that?
That's fantastic.
They're going to Photoshop the logo on at a certain area. I want to do the next photo.
Love it.
I was saying, like, if there's a game that makes sense, guys, next year, I think we should do one from Slingers Bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Go to
Like,
Slingers.
that would be like a great road game, maybe early in the fall.
Yeah.
Nice night. Get out there on a weekend. We'll
What's
knock it out.
the crowd like for Flyers games out there?
Pretty full.
Yeah?
Sometimes they just show up and they bring people I don't know. But yeah, Joe Watson just did a book signing there.
Okay.
And I had Bob Kelly there back in May.
Do you have any beer
Very
left?
cool.
What's that?
Did you have any beer left?
Yeah.
After
those guys, after they got there, yeah.
After those guys are out there.
Joe wasn't drinking because of Lent, so I was safe.
Oh, Rick, I just want people to be aware of this. Slingers Bar, you can see it. I mean, it's on Facebook. It is spectacular. Quick question, because we have a segment now called the Concerned Fan. How concerned are you right at this minute?
This is the game. This is you got to win tonight. I mean, we should have had 4 points the last 2 teams. They were teams that they could have beat. So, yeah, it's got to be a big win tonight.
So the level of concern would be a 10.
I would have to say, and I think Eric would have to agree with that too.
Eric's going to come on in a second here.
So,
Ricky, we love having you on, buddy.
Right.
Anytime you're at the games, come up and say
Come up and say hi.
We'd love to have you.
Thanks, and
anytime.
we'll be out.
Love
We'll
the
definitely be
fans'
out to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
Great seeing you, brother.
Yeah. That's
Come
Rick
on
and
up here real
Slingers.
quick.
Slingers and Reading. Now we got to get
Slingers is the
concerned.
best.
Eric's coming on.
This is our main segment. Just pull that, get closer there.
All right, here we go.
There you go.
This is technology at its finest. I don't know what Russ is doing right now. Russ is worried about something. He's over there arguing with
This is our
Intern
new
Andrew.
segment, the Concerned Fan.
So it'll
we
just be
actually
the-
brought Slinger on, but how?
It'll just be
as
the three of us.
The Concerned Fan with Flyers, Eric. What are you at right now? Where are you at?
Going into the game, like I texted you, I was at a 7.
Your concern was at a 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's at an 8.
Oh, it's going up. It's
Yeah.
going up.
Yes.
Yeah. What worried you the most that first period?
Ursa, and he needs a rest. I would have started Fedotov today. I think Fedotov. I think Ursan needs a rest more than Fedotov needs to get acclimated and all that, breaking in his gear.
It's a good point.
If I would have started Fedotov,
and then
I think they would have given the team a little bit of energy.
And I'm sure there's level of concern with Coots going off the way he did as well.
That too.
That makes the concerned fan even more concerned.
Yes.
Eric,
yes.
as always, thank you.
I think the team overachieved for most of the season, and they couldn't sustain it.
Well, it's not over yet.
I know.
That's not
Got a
going
lot of time left here, brother.
We got time.
I know.
You got time. And you got to remember, these other teams that are chasing them aren't that good. They could just as easily lose games while the Flyers are losing, and things stay the same, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So they can still
Either
get
way,
in.
they're going to be limping, and if they do get in, they're going to be limping in.
Yeah, but
Who
that's
said-
okay.
we're here,
It's
though,
good
right?
experience.
We're here.
It's good experience for them.
Concerned fan, Flyers, Eric.
I keep it real.
Thanks, Flyers,
Thank you
Eric.
always,
You're the
buddy.
best, my friend.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping up.
Thank you.
Good stuff. All right. That was Flyers Eric here on the Concerned Fan segment of the show. Bundy continues to create new segments. He's a man of entertainment.
Well, speaking of a man of entertainment, I got to get Bundy's take on what was said by a former teammate of his today.
Can you read it?
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read exactly what's in the story.
Jesus.
So Eric Lindros did did an interview with the Hockey News. Michael Trikos, who I know pretty well, from the Toronto area, but he's a reporter for the Hockey News, and he thinks that the Flyers didn't necessarily handle the Cutter-Gauthier thing well. Here's what Eric said. Quote, "I would have focused on just saying, we wanted Jamie Drysdale and we had to give up this player. That's how I would have dealt with it. I wouldn't have publicized the situation. I would have just traded the kid. I had a great time in Philly, but if he thinks he's going to have a better time someplace else, then go for it. It's a player's right. The better the city and the organization treats a guy, the more it's going to attract guys. That's a big part of it. Think about how it was handled. It's like going to the bar when you're younger and you ask a girl out. If she says no, you don't go to your buddies and say, she shot me down. You know what I mean?"
Just toss a drink on her. Like, what?
So, anyway.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, I mean,
what's
the
Eric?
whole,
I mean, seriously,
the whole
Eric.
situation was. It had, first of all, it had nothing to do with the Flyers wanting Drysdale.
Right.
That had nothing to do with it.
Bingo.
It was everything to do with the other guy not wanting to be here.
Correct.
Eric, of all people, should not talk about players and teams or going to the team and making a commitment or not liking it. That'd be the last guy that should be talking about
The guy who
Correct.
felt entitled enough to kind of pick his own destiny
The
is
greatest
now
hockey player that I had probably played with. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Just like this was a disengaged, ticked off young hockey player that I think his daddy must have gotten his ear. And that's what happens. And the kid thinks he's bigger than life. Oh, I'm this, I got this really cool nickname, and I was the 5th pick overall, and I'm going to be the next Wayne Gretzky. We'll see. But what I am going to tell you right now is it had nothing to do with the Flyers wanting anybody. They wanted Cutter-Gauthier. He didn't want to be here. Does Eric, is he aware that his greatest line mate reached out to him to try to talk to him and
I know.
be a pro with him?
in John LeClaire.
Of course. So
Yeah.
what did he, I mean, before Eric made these comments, would he have called Johnny and asked, hey, what went on? I just had a question about it. Because we know what went on, and it wasn't that.
Yeah, I mean,
Spiral out with maybe my favorite comment. What happened? There it is. Entitled knows entitled. An entitled person knows an entitled person.
I mean, look, ultimately, does any of it matter? No. I think that the Flyers still handled it. I mean, again, you could have the reaction of, when Hilferty came on our show, there were some people who loved it. There were some people who didn't love it. There were some things that Danny said that people loved and some things that people didn't love that Danny said. But ultimately, they did the right thing by being honest with the fans, because the fan base was more upset that, oh my God, they're misevaluating this player and they're trading away this player that they, for whatever reason, don't value as highly as we, the fans, do. But what really happened was the player didn't want to play here, and they were trying to get maximum value before the entire league found out, and you got Jack Diddley squat back for him. So Lindros is totally wrong.
But you know, and again, and then he's saying, oh,
Fedotov's out there. I kid you not. This is not. He is
out there.
Fedotov is out.
One more comment.
Fedotov is out to start the period.
Oh boy. Well,
this is about to get.
Fish is out of the pan now.
You know what? It's like good old Jim Ross used to say, business is about to pick up. Ivan Fedotov, less than a week after getting brought over here from Russia, from having his KHL contract terminated, is about to start the second period of a vitally critical game. Torts wants to know what a guy is made of.
I said last game.
This is it.
I said last game the first. I didn't think it would happen, but it could. This is desperation, boys. This is the panic button is pushed. It's ding ding.
I thought he would give him one more goal.
I agree.
I thought he would give him one more goal.
I said 2 more goals. Anyway, this is what we're going to see. Last thing about the Lindros thing.
Yeah.
He is right, though, in terms of saying, like, but again, I think he created it. You need to look like you treat your players good. You get free agents. He is absolutely right about that. But what happened with this has nothing to do with mistreating a player here.
No.
Nothing at all.
No. All right, so this is about to get really interesting.
Woo!
I'm not saying it's because we put out the new design on shop.snowthegoalie.com, but let's hope he turns into something. And we're going to learn a lot about Ivan Fedotov.
Here we go.
About as high stakes of a game as he could have been brought into other than a playoff game itself. Ivan Fedotov, presumably going to play the rest of this game. We'll see how the team in front of him reacts. And we will be back, second intermission here on the Press Row Show. Like this video, share it, and subscribe. We will talk to all of you at the end of this period. just when you thought, hey, Ivan Fedotov gets in there, has a spotless second period, 2 minutes left, a shot from distance, a deflection right in front. We talked about traffic. Anders Lee, top shelf on the deflection, past Ivan Fedotov. If only he had been 6'9", maybe he would have been able to make that save. But Islanders with a 3-2 lead. The Flyers did get back into that period. They did tie it. Fedotov, I want to get some high-level thoughts from what you guys saw on Ivan Fedotov in that period. Bunny, I want to start with you.
Definitely infused some life into the team. They came out with a really good pop in the beginning of the second period. Me and Anthony were talking. You know what sucked the life out of the team again? Their power play. They just destroyed them. Again, like the Islanders, after the power play, Flyers were controlling the tempo and the pace of the play. As soon as they got their power play, they lost all their mojo. And then look at the period. If you went back and watched it, the Islanders had the Flyers down hemmed in their zone the last 8 minutes of the period. I mean, again, listen, I've come to expect the power play not to have a lot of success. Like it's you know, I mean, I'm not going to be insane and say things are going to change. They're not, but you can't let it deflate you either. That's what it's done. Last 2 games, without question, it's absolutely sucked the life out of them.
We were wondering what would happen when the worst power play in hockey went up against the worst penalty kill in hockey, and the worst penalty kill won.
The irresistible force meets the immovable object.
And the Islanders.
We say that as the WrestleMania is set for this weekend across the street at the Link.
Yeah. You wrestling?
Huh?
You wrestling?
Yeah, I'm actually I'm a body double for Rey Mysterio. So very exciting. He's going to be on night 1. They announced tonight. Anyway,
Russ would have wrestled Sky Low back in the day.
Oh yeah.
this has been this has been used a bunch of times.
He doesn't
now.
even know Sky Low
I
is.
looked up Sky Low after the first
Are you
time.
familiar with
this?
Are you familiar
with
with
the shirt? Hold on,
you know,
look at the shirt.
little Mr. T?
You see this shirt real quick?
Yeah, it's a Gretzky shirt.
That's great.
That's a Gretzky shirt.
Don't dodge your question. Are you
what?
familiar with little Mr. T?
No, I'm.
All right.
Okay.
I'll get you a picture of little Mr. T.
Yeah. But the period was just not great. Here comes Joe Papel.
Joe Papel, he's a man on a mission.
Man on a
He
mission.
is ready. He's got his Snow the Goalie shirt on.
Joe looks
Joe, are
fired
you
up.
concerned?
Come here.
Come on over here.
Come around.
Come around.
Come on over, Joe.
We got to see if Joe is also concerned.
Concerned Flyer fan. Second period. Here we go.
I feel like this show has just devolved into. I mean, we are the show of the people. We are the People's Podcast.
Yeah.
Joe Papel.
Concerned fan. Second period. Joe, how concerned are you right now?
Oh, we're very concerned. The big guy brought some life into the building, and the fans were really into it. We were dead in the first period. So there was a little bit of hope, but we're getting outplayed.
Completely. I mean, outshot 16-3 in the second period. If it wasn't for Fedotov, this game could be over at this point if you still had Urson in that. So credit to him. But, man, it just seems like the Flyers can't generate anything at all.
No, there were a couple opportunities where they didn't get the shot, but that was it. That was it. But the building had some life, and I think that's what Torch was going for in that period.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Joe, without actually telling the folks at home all the profanity that has been unleashed, what did the fans in your general area have to say about Rocky Thompson's power play that period?
It wasn't pretty, Russ.
Joe Papel, thanks for stopping on.
Thanks,
Concerned
guys.
fan.
Keep up the good
Concerned
work.
fan
pal.
here in the second period. Joe
Concerned fan.
Papel,
That's awesome.
friend of the show.
Awesome. But no, he's right. I mean, that's what it was like down there. I mean, they got to generate something in order to get the crowd and get the energy, and they're not generating anything other than, like you said, Bundy, the goalie gave them a lift. Travis Sanheim's goal was a pretty goal. Like, he went end to end. He fought off a check along the boards in the neutral zone, made a move, got a shot. Yeah, it deflected off of the Islanders defenseman's stick to go up and past Varlamov, and that was like right at the beginning of the period. You kind of felt, okay, that's the boost, that's the energy that they're going to get.
Yep.
And then from there, it was all Islanders.
It was all Islanders. I mean, I hated the fact they were making these plays around the perimeter of the ice in the offensive zone, and that tells me that when you're doing that, you're either really tired as a team or you just can't get it stopped. You have to get the cycle stopped, and it's usually your best defenseman that will do it.
Yeah.
Like a guy back there that's just going to say, all right, enough's enough. We're going to get the puck stopped. We're going to get the puck out of the zone, and if they do it again, we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
And you just got to get it out. The Flyers' inability to get the puck cleared was pretty obvious that period. And the Islanders, they're a funny team. Like, they're not great, but they have like some good high-end players that can make plays, but they're they're disjointed, and they have been for a couple years now. And I, again, this is a team, like, I'd be comfortable going into the period with this score, but I'm worried about the Flyers right now more than anything.
Yeah, and
Greg
they should be worried about themselves.
Greg Mack over on YouTube says, who will the emergency call up for Coots be? Matvei Mishkov.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
They'll find a way to get him over here. No, I don't know if they need to make an emergency call up because they have subs that they can go to.
Yeah.
They got forwards that are out of the lineup. I mean, you got Brink out of the lineup and Lixol and Guryanov. So you got 3 guys that are out of the lineup. I mean, I guess technically they could say that it's a center and they need a center. So maybe they would do that, but I don't think they would. I think those are the guys that one of those guys will come into the lineup.
And now we've reached the point of the show here in the second intermission that the fans have loved, they have clamored for, and continues to become a more and more fan favorite section of this program. And that, of course, is bringing on the glowing Intern Andrew for intern trivia during the second period. Intern Andrew.
I missed the trivia question the other night, but the last time I heard from Intern Andrew, he had a 242-degree fever.
Yeah, I made it though.
You made it.
He recovered.
I ruined trivia the other night.
Did you?
I knew it right off the bat, and I said it. I spit it out like right away. Well, here.
I actually didn't think it was that hard.
No, let's go with he's got one for tonight. Everybody wants to do the tonight trivia. Let's get to tonight.
There's no way Ant wouldn't have gotten it. So
in
it's fine.
In 2010 during the Stanley Cup Final, Game 1.
Yes.
The Flyers were in the Stanley Cup Final, Game 1, but there was a bigger story that happened in Philly sports.
Roy Halladay's perfect game.
Yeah, I figured. It's hard writing Flyers Blackhawks questions that aren't like obvious.
Could you imagine? I mean, we were sitting there in the press box for that game, and I'm monitoring the perfect game because I saw something on Twitter like, oh, he's got a perfect game. I'm like, and I'm telling my editor, I was with the Daily Times at the time, Rob Perry, was sitting right next to me. I'm like, Rob, we might have to reconsider the back page for tomorrow if this keeps up. We were watching an illegal stream of the Phillies game.
Allegedly.
On our computer. It was an illegal stream. We were watching an illegal stream on a computer while Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final was going on the ice below us. It was crazy.
I was watching a stream of Game 1 from Berlin, Germany, and monitoring the perfect game on my phone on the old, remember the old ESPN app?
Yes.
Like the really archaic pitch tracker. Anyway, Intern Andrew, we have a new question from you tonight, and let's get to it. And ladies and gents at home, feel free to drop your thoughts.
This one I assume will be significantly harder than the previous one. So we don't have to go quite as far back for this one, though. The Islanders met the Flyers in the second round of the playoffs in the bubble in 2020. That was that second round playoff series that went the distance. Unfortunately, the Islanders did win the series in 7. However, all 3 of the Flyers' wins in that series were in overtime. Phil Myers in Game 2, Scott Lawton in Game 5, and then friend of the program, Ivan Provorov in Game 6. That goal was assisted by even better friend of the program, Kevin Hayes. So
his fingerprints were all over that goal.
I was going to say, you could make the argument his fingerprints were all over that goal.
Yeah.
So that overtime game winner in Game 6 still remains the last time that the Flyers have scored in the playoffs because they got shut out in Game 7 and they haven't been back since. Well, big reason why that play even developed was because the Islanders were in the offensive zone and an Islanders player's stick had snapped, which is how Kevin Hayes was able to get the puck and then brought it down the ice, basically just unimpeded, brought it behind the red line, passed it to Provorov, rest is history. Who was the Islanders player who lost the stick on that transition?
And puts his mouth against the mic, and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Was it Brock Nelson?
It was not. It was a defenseman. I should have clarified.
And I know it was I don't think he's playing. I keep thinking of a tall, long guy.
He's not still on the team,
Scott Mayfield?
That's incredible.
He got it?
Scott Mayfield.
Yeah, there's nothing on it at all. Like I didn't.
Yeah, he's.
I remember that. That was actually. I will say this. I've watched a lot of Flyers hockey. Been in a lot of them. That was the worst playoff game, Game 7, that this organization has ever played.
Really?
Even more so than the 8-0 loss to Buffalo,
nope,
huh?
I don't care. That was a Game 7. I was in the 8-0 Buffalo game. Proud member of that. It was just unbelievable. I remember Billy Barber came in the locker room. Now, if you know Billy, there's no way I could just mimic Billy right now.
Right.
But he comes in, it's 4-0, and I'm like we look like Denny Lemieux there in Slapshot, like, hey, coming out. Yeah. And he goes, I'm going to tell you guys something there right now. You ain't winning this game tonight. and I'm going to make every change necessary to make sure this crap never happens again. He goes, you're not winning. It's 4-0 in the first. You guys are done.
That's fantastic.
And it ended up being 8-0. He was right.
Was that the game where the headline of the Daily News, one of my all-time favorite headlines, was the puck just in an empty net, and it was Stinko de Flyo?
It was one of those games, like
I think that might have been it.
Couldn't make anything up. Like, that was the most pathetic. But the game, the Islander game, Game 7, if you go back to it, that won the Flyers. They had like 3 shots on goal halfway through the game in a Game 7. It was just one of the worst performances I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, Russ and I were like, we were livid because we were doing live reaction shows, right? As soon as the game was over. And like that game, it was we were like so ready for a Game 7, like this is crazy. They're going to win this thing and go on to the conference final, and then they went and just were not there, not present.
I think 4-0 was the final in Game 7.
Yeah, they were never in it.
It was absolutely maddening.
Never a game.
It was never a game.
No, that's right. All right, but you know what is a game? The one that we're watching tonight. Intern Andrew, you and I were the only two to pick the Islanders tonight.
Yes.
Your score was what?
I said 4-2 Islanders.
And I said 3-2. So we both are still in play here.
No, you did not. You said 4-1, didn't you?
No, I told you. I changed it. It was 3-2.
Oh.
I went from 4-1.
Bundy, have you ever had a chance to change your score?
I said the score to you, and I said, you know what? On second thought,
give it up. You know what? He's like one of those. He's like Larry David. It is. He's like watching Curb Your Enthusiasm the way he does. I stopped even counting him anymore in the scores. It's you and me. Yeah.
That's right, Bundy.
Seriously, who changes their score? It's 2-0. I can't change my score. Who changes their score?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yes, but you guys were the only two to pick the Islanders. Bundy and I picked the Flyers.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Intern Andrew, by the way, thank you for that trivia. That was really good.
You're welcome.
To not pick the Flyers tonight, right after the year they had, this was a game. So even if I didn't really think the Islanders would win tonight because I don't think they're very good, but I did think the Flyers are going to do enough in this game to figure it out, and I'm still going to be a believer with 20 minutes left. It's going to be hard because, I don't know, anyone find out what the Islanders' record is when they're up after 2? No?
I didn't look.
Okay,
no.
so I mean, those are numbers, but I mean, again, you can't look at it like that because if you do look at it like that, you're going to realize your percentages of coming back are probably 4%. But this is a game here where you probably owed another power play if you're the Flyers, if you do the right thing. And but you have to come out and early in this period here and reestablish territory. You can't let the Islanders have the puck for 8 minutes in your zone because that's just going to tire you the hell right out. Fedotov was very good, but you can't rely on him every single time. He made 2 10-bell saves that period. Certainly kept the Flyers in it. So this is now the biggest period of the year for this team, and how they respond will be a telling sign of what's to come, I think, because this is just massive for this team.
A couple guys that have really not had a great game. Scott Lawton, as great as
he's had a brutal,
as great as he's been, prior to the last couple of games. Obviously, no one's been really good the last couple of games, but he had a stretch from the trade deadline through the Rangers game where he was probably their best forward.
Yeah.
Okay, and then tonight, he's just been not good. 2 really bad turnovers, one that led to a goal, one that led to the breakaway that Fedotov makes the save on Barzal.
Yep.
Not great. I don't think that Cam Atkinson, he got back into the lineup tonight, and I'm still not sure why. Like, he hasn't given us,
he's done nothing.
I'll tell you why.
He has trouble dumping the puck in at this point. Like, seriously, getting the line and getting it in. Yeah.
I'll tell you why Cam Atkinson's in. I genuinely do think I know. I'm not being a smartass. I really
know.
do.
If you got the answer, I'll let you know if you're right. Go ahead.
I think that it's a move of a coach who realizes his team isn't generating enough offense, and Cam Atkinson is an incredibly streaky goal scorer. He hasn't done it for a long stretch of the season, and the hope is that if you can get a veteran guy who can be streaky, he could certainly help in the goal-scoring department down the stretch.
Well, he's not going to score in the press box, so you may as well put him on the ice, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, again, at this point, what does he – I know what Anthony's saying. He just doesn't have the wheels anymore. He can't get to the space. So you can sit here all night and try it, but it doesn't matter if he can't get to where he needs to get to.
Yeah. The more concerning thing is, where have the scorers been? I think that
where's Morgan Frost?
Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, Travis Konechny, Tyson Forster.
He's been okay, Forster.
Yeah,
just okay. Like he's, but the guys that I'm noticing tonight are Paling and Hathaway.
Yes,
that can't happen.
Yeah.
Right. That can't happen, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, that's not supposed to be the way it goes in this. No update on Coots. Anything on him, Ant?
Not
Nothing yet,
No,
huh?
I sent a text and I haven't gotten an answer yet. So.
I hope it's. I have a bad feeling.
That it's not as bad as it looked.
I hope it's not, but the way he went in.
No, I just got no update yet on Coots.
Yeah,
Which is not a good sign.
Didn't look good, man. Like it just. I've had those. I've gone into the boards and it my shoulder. Did it actually in high school. My left shoulder. I fell in as I went to turn, and my shoulder had always hurt from that. And it takes time when you first do it, but it could be like an AC joint.
Could be a collarbone.
A collarbone is what.
And
I
that's the big. That's the really big concern because that would be.
Yeah, because he crunches his body in against the boards right as he hits, and it compacts your collarbone area in your shoulders, and that's exactly. I mean, I watched. I'm like, ugh. I knew right away.
Obviously, we hope that he's going to be okay. When we have an update, we'll put that out on Twitter. If we get an update before the end of the game, I don't want to say that the entire season rides on the next 20 minutes.
It doesn't.
And Bundy,
But
we have the joke about the first 5 minutes of the third, but realistically, you need to at least get 1 point out of this game, preferably 2, and preferably in regulation. What do they have to do? What can they do in the first 5 minutes of this period to put themselves in a better position to hang on and at least get a point?
Yeah, don't let the Islanders have territorial advantage. Put the work in. Dig in the corners. Get the puck out of the zone. And then have guys racing and speeding towards puck. There wasn't enough energy exerted for the Flyers to come win a game like that in the second. The good thing is they have 20 minutes left to do this, but they have to have a mentality of north-south. East-west is not working. The goalie on the other team tonight stinks too, by the way. He's let in 2 cupcakes. I know one of them, but shoot more. Get 3 shots in a second. More shots, more determination. Seal the boards in the defensive zone and get the puck out with authority.
You want to see who's in Torts' doghouse right now?
Farabee.
Yeah. Coots, I was going to say, Coots has the least amount of time because he got hurt.
Yeah.
Then it's Nick Delorier, who's played the next fewest minutes.
I haven't even noticed him.
Next fewest minutes. And then the third fewest minutes is Joel Farabee.
Yep.
Only 7 minutes and 34 seconds of ice time.
And he's the guy that you need the scoring prowess if he has it, and if he's got it in him tonight. So we'll see. They are in a very rough spot here. We'll see how this goes. Don't forget, we'll be here post-game. Bundy and I will be. Ant will go down below into the bowels of the Wells Fargo Center post-game. Come back, like the video, share the video, subscribe, and let all the Flyers fans in your life know about the Press Row Show. We'll be back post-game. Big thank you to everybody. We will talk to all of you after the game. Welcome, and I guess welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. We're going to get right to it. Morgan Frost giveth, Morgan Frost taketh away.
I ran for the restroom really quick, Russ.
Yes, you did.
Beginning of the overtime.
How did it go, by the way? Was it efficient?
It was fine. Everything came out all right. It was quick, but I just saw the thing on the TV, but I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We won the draw. Looks like we may have moved it around a little bit.
They legitimately had possession from the get-go, and we were joking up here, oh, it's lacrosse. Like, we were finally getting to see what the Flyers look like playing the lacrosse overtime, and Ant looked at me and was like, are they playing for the shootout? Like, kind of half joking, but like, they had no intention of putting a shot on net, presumably. They didn't want to get caught going the other way. Morgan Frost with a bad turnover.
The Flyers
center ice right in front of Fedotov, who gets beat. I think glove side.
Yeah, he got beat up high on the quick play, but I mean Drysdale gets turned inside out to the outside. He had a couple tough plays tonight doing that. I think again, when you watch the third period too, like the Flyers pulled the goalie with a little over 3 to go. The Islanders may have been the dumbest execution I've ever seen by a team. They had a chance 4 times to just chip it out. Yep. They couldn't even get out of the zone.
Yep.
And the Flyers, some nights you get lucky, and they did. They stayed with it. They got the points. But, when you feel that momentum, you want to get the win and get the 2 points and really sink the Islanders. Instead, everyone's still alive. Flyers, I will say this, they're lucky to get a point tonight.
Yes.
They were. Because they got, when the Islanders... Yeah, I mean, the Islanders defensively, they're 6 on 5. Their 5 men out there mimic their penalty kill, which is the worst in the league.
Yep.
And it was obvious tonight. I mean, that was just a horrible show by them to not even be able to clear the puck. And the Flyers give them credit for scoring. But, man, I follow that up in overtime, man. Like, go after the game. And, at that point, what do you got to lose? Nothing.
No, there's nothing to lose. I mean, listen, Morgan Frost gets you a goal that I think none of us really thought was coming with 30 seconds left. They hadn't really done a lot at the end of that third period to generate legitimate high-danger chances. And puck fell right to his stick at the end of regulation. He pots it. You're like, hey, we talked about it during the intermissions. Morgan Frost was one of the guys that had to step up tonight and hadn't done so through the first 2 periods. There he has the moment. You go, that's like the monkey off the back, right? Like you go back to a year ago where it was, Morgan Frost built up, he piled up a lot of his points in the second half against bad teams. And tonight it's like, this is a big moment. Like this is one of those, not an iconic moment, right, for him, but like it's a big moment in a big game where you need the 2 points. And we said it a million times tonight, you need the 2 points in regulation. He gets it, but overtime. The turnover that he had is an inexcusable one. And I don't know, Bundy, and I'd love to kind of pick your brain on this one. They were so passive in that overtime. I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they weren't looking to really generate a chance. It was strange. They almost like they were afraid to turn it over and have an odd man rush the other way. Do you think that Frost just like took his eye off the puck? Like, how does that turnover happen? Where it happened? And when it happened, especially for a guy who says...
Bathroom break. Remember?
Bathroom break?
I didn't see it.
Oh,
I was telling you, I saw the goal. I didn't see the feed.
Right.
I'll get a look at it on my phone here at some point.
It's horrific.
All right. But it sounds like
it was
there
a
bad
horrific
pass.
turnover. I don't even know he fumbled the puck in the slot. Like I don't know what he was. I don't know. Just brutal. And I think that is the ultimate. Took the eye off the prize. Intern Andrew just notes that Detroit just won. Intern Andrew, go ahead, jump in here for a second.
So I think they just scored an empty netter, so it's 4-2 with 20 seconds left from what I can see.
They beat, was it Tampa?
They beat Tampa, in Tampa too.
Detroit beat Tampa in Tampa.
Yes.
The Flyers.
That's what I said. Like, you can't look at, like, what you would think is going to happen doesn't usually happen. Maybe some nights, but, I mean, who thought that, right? Like, Tampa had a good win. They come back, and then they lose to Detroit. But they got Larkin back in, and a big part of their team.
Lightning were 8-1-1 in their last 10 coming into tonight. And Detroit went in there and beat them.
Yeah, it's
not
that's
ideal.
a big win for
not
not
ideal.
Figure it out. I mean, the Flyers were they got a weekend. They got 3 days off, so this is an opportunity for them to get a good practice day and day off. It has to be a day off tomorrow, and they just have a good practice, get ready for the weekend. But you got to find points, and you can't do it like this.
Well,
I mean, I'm stunned they even got a point because the way that they executed
they
that
kind of didn't deserve
6-on-5.
one.
Oh, the Islanders were so dumb they couldn't even get the puck out of their own zone.
Yep.
Like they literally missed empty nets. They had chances of coming down. Palmieri looked like he had a piano on his back when he was chasing the puck. I mean, that's a tap in. Flyers very, very fortunate in a lot of ways. I know people are still ticked off at the loss, and I am too, because I don't like to see a team just come back and score that easily in the overtime. But lucky to even get 1 point. Thank God they did.
Fourth host Nancy here to break down what happened on that play. She says, I'll break it down for you, Bundy. My 15-month-old crawls faster than the Flyers skated during that OT.
Thank you to the lovely Nancy Joy.
Tells you everything you need to know.
Thank you very much.
Everything you need to know. Let's look ahead. I mean, we're going to get back into this game here in a second, but like this is breaking about as poorly as it could have for this team.
It is.
6 points in the 7-game gauntlet, but they've lost 5 consecutive games. They picked up a point against the Rangers on the road. They picked up a last-second point and then just puked all over themselves in overtime tonight. But 5 straight losses. They haven't had the 10-game losing streak this year, Bundy. What a way to go.
That's a win in itself.
You look at the 6 games they have left, all right? And now it really is the ultimate you can't take any game for granted because they're proving that they can figure out new ways to lose games. At Buffalo on Friday, at Columbus on Saturday. In theory, you look at those games and you say, hey, that should be 4 points, 3 at worst. Now it's like you almost need it to be 4. Because of what the playoff situation is right now.
You absolutely those are games this weekend. You got to get 3 out of 4 points. I'm saying I want 4 out of 4, but you need 4. You need 4. Yeah, you do.
And then you're at Montreal. You need to get revenge there.
I mean, what you're looking at now is you're tied with the Capitals.
You need at least 4 points in the next 3 games, or this is over.
Red Wings are 2 points back with a game in hand. And they have the overtime and the regulation and overtime win column to their favor.
Simply put, if you don't get 4 points in the next 3 games, the season is over. The playoff chance is over.
It'll come down to the last game of the regular season against Washington.
If they don't get 4, though,
I
don't think it'll matter.
It'll still shake itself out. You watch. They'll find points in somewhere you're not expecting them to find points. I'm just telling you.
I hear what you're saying.
Know. We're going back into like panic mode, and I don't want to do that because what's happening is that we're saying like that gauntlet. If they're a good team, I'm saying, well, you get 9 out. I want to get you 9 out of 14 points, right? They got 6. That's because that's who I think this team is. They got that. Anthony thought the same thing. But now you're going to have games against teams where maybe they sit somebody late, like if it's a last couple games of the year, if you're playing a good team. But I do think that the Capitals and the Flyers that game's going to mean something.
Yeah, it has to.
Last game of the year. Yep. Did Anthony go down?
He did go down. He's apparently the Associated Press guy tonight, but I don't think Torts is going to care. I am monitoring, though, because I figured out that I believe that of late they've been streaming the Torts press conference on their channel, and if they do, we have the rights to that as well, so we can pull up their better feed instead of using Potato Cam. So we kept Intern Andrew up here because we value Intern Andrew, and we want him to be up here with us post-game, while Ant Sanfoni goes down below and does his thing, whatever that's going to be. But
is Ant going to keep trying to ask stuff? Why not?
Why not?
Why would we stop now?
I'm not going to tell everybody how Ant felt about my little April Fool's Day thing today.
I actually loved it. You can tell him. Go ahead. Ant didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that Russ tweeted that John Tortorella would be joining us on the Press Row show tonight at 6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
And I laughed. I saw it and laughed, and I retweeted it.
And just about everybody who saw it, was like, oh. And then like some people were like, oh my God, you guys are like finally making peace. And then like later in the day, they replied to their own tweet, and they're like, oh my God, you got me for April Fools. And like it was like, guys, 6 o'clock, right? Like even if there ever comes a day where Tortorella finally decides that he's going to talk to Ant, it's not going to be an hour before a puck drop.
But the funniest, I think we told our listeners before, right? The Anthony story with Torts. Remember, like the first time Torts got signed here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Anthony like hogged the Snow the Goalie channel and did a solo interview with
He did.
Torts.
He did. Well,
Never
Torts was
told
in the
me
car.
and Russ. Never
Yep.
said a word
He-
to me and Russ about it.
And then, and I was mad because I was like, dude.
Remember I called you?
Yeah. Oh, you
I'm
were,
like, are we doing this?
dude, you were so mad.
So
Eventually, we'll have a chat on a regular Snow the Goalie where we can let the language fly. But that was my laptop was busted, and I was driving to like an Apple store like 50 minutes away or something. I wasn't looking at my phone, and then I saw this really long text thread with you and Ant, and you seemed mad in it. And I'm like driving. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then you called. You're like on fire, and I was like, what happened? I'm like, I missed something big. And it was all because
there was Ant.
he
big shot us.
He kind of did a little
He
bit in
big
that
shot
moment.
at us, and now look at
and when he did it, I said to him, like almost verbatim, I was like, this coach will you better hope you build up enough equity so that when you make a mistake or you do something stupid, he doesn't kill you. And well, anyway, so Ant went down there. I don't think he's going to ask any questions. He's doing the Associated Press thing, so he's got to do the home locker room and the away locker room so that he can provide fair and balanced coverage for the Associated Press.
Oh, they just lost too, so that's going to be lovely traffic.
Not only did the Phillies lose, but the Phillies were also tied at 2 and then gave up a salami. It was
They
Brogdon.
gave up a big grand salami in the 10th.
So anyway, it has not been a great night down here at the Philly Sports
I saw
Complex.
that home run on those bunch of TVs here at Snow the Goalie Sportsbook.
The Snow the Goalie Sportsbook is right. Listen, there's one thing, and I think that in a lot of cases here, maybe it's just semantics, and maybe it's not something that really does matter. But when you come out of the gauntlet like they did, it wasn't pretty, and you're right. They're not a great team, and a great team probably gets far more points, and you're kind of happy with six of the available points in that stretch.
Yep.
But I don't think anybody, and I'm pretty sure that none of us predicted that they were going to fall apart the way they have in these games against teams that they should be beating. Now, tonight's a little bit different. Yes, the Islanders have benefited a ton from the loser point, but they've stayed in it. So you look at them and you say they might not be a legitimate playoff team, but they're playoff adjacent, right? Chicago's not. Montreal is not, right? It is so problematic because now if you don't pick up, like I said, 4 out of the next 6 available points, Buffalo, Columbus, Montreal, the last 3 games, you're not beating the Rangers.
Well, you
unless
don't
the
know.
Rangers. Oh, I'm just.
I know,
I'm being,
that's what
I'm
you're
being,
thinking
I'm being
again.
realistic here.
Yeah.
Like they have not had success against the Rangers, especially up at MSG. And then you do get to hopefully have home ice advantage. Like you will have New Jersey in town, you will have Washington in town to end the season, but you've got to pick up some points here. And yes, it's great that they picked up 1 tonight in a game that I don't really think they deserve to get the point.
They didn't,
but
because you know what? Again, but I don't like what ifs. They did get a point. It ended up being an important point, no matter how the process went. But the fact of the matter is they're not playing their best hockey right now. They're not playing like they were back in January. You know, when they're coming to like Winnipeg, when they're on the road, they came back and they were just rolling. So now they got to find that chemistry that works. See it, Timmy, every night, what that lineup looks like.
Well, and
we'll
now
see if the goal. I don't know what's going to happen with the goals. Obviously, they're going to split again on the weekend. It'll be interesting to see who gets first start.
Yeah, I mean that's its own thing. Is like now you have to kind of wonder: are they going to go? I can't imagine. Would they go back to Fedotov right away, or do you think?
Why not? He's played pretty well. I mean,
He did.
yeah. I mean,
He had a really good second period.
first time coming into the NHL, and yeah. I mean, he did well.
And the goal in overtime, I wouldn't say was one that he should have necessarily had. It was
Tough shot, quick play.
Tough shot, quick play, bad spot that the puck was turned over. I don't think anybody walks away from this game saying Fedotov isn't ready. And especially he was thrust into a game. I really don't think that this was probably in their plan, that if they fell behind like they did in the way that they did, that he was going to come in for the second period. Now, it was interesting to kind of catch people up, especially those who are joining us for the first time post-game. Thank you for finding us. Or those who listen in the podcast feed after the fact. We talked about during the first intermission the same way that we had the conversation last game. You give up a couple of nasty-looking goals. Could they look to flip the game over to the backup, to Fedotov? And it really did come down to he hasn't played a competitive game in 3 weeks.
and his last game was in the KHL.
And he hasn't had a lot of practice either.
He hasn't.
So he hasn't
Nope.
seen a lot. He's got new equipment on because it probably just got looked at by the league, by Kay Whitmore, who is the goalie, the equipment regulator for the league, making sure that everything's legal. So, I mean, listen, that's not easy coming into a place where you haven't played. You're here, you're in the lineup, and you get tossed in. And he did a good job. And, I mean, these are big games, right? End of the year. So, again, it gives him also some experience. And certainly with the weekend coming up, at least you know that you're not going to have to throw him in there without having had a look at him in game. You'd be more than comfortable. It'll at least put a level of comfort in the coaches' minds before the games.
And we're on the lookout here for the Torts presser just to see if we can tap into it or not. I would be interested to see what he has to say about Fedotov and coming in, because that's a tough situation. I mean, I think for a guy who's even been on the team all year, that's not exactly an ideal situation. But given all the things that kind of went into this, I think he played reasonably well. Again, in that second period, he had some massive saves. I mean, the game could have flipped on its head a lot worse had he not been on his game.
I agree, especially in the second period, where was it 16 3 shots on goal by the Islanders. I mean, he was sharp, made good saves, gave them a chance. And that's what you want your goalie to do. Came in relief. The Flyers tied it. The Islanders got one back, but later on in the period. But Flyers stayed with it. The goalie was not the problem, as somebody just wrote there. It's not really the issue. They got other issues. They have offensive problems right now, and it feels like every time they go to score goals. I mean, they scored that goal at the end, which is probably the most likely goal you'd get, the Morgan Frost one. But the other goals were shots. You don't see a lot of them go in sometimes, and they're relying on outside shots that have gone in of late.
Yeah,
and those usually don't go in, in big playoff series.
There actually is something that I wanted to get to with you tonight, and it's mostly because it's something that we talked about pregame and was a concern, and that was the lineup. I kind of want to reiterate, I think, what we talked about pregame, Bundy, about how Tortorella has kind of preached this idea that you earn your playing time. We like to throw that word meritocracy around. You earn every minute that you play. So he hasn't been opposed to scratching guys like Cam Atkinson. He hasn't been opposed to scratching guys like Mark Stahl. He hasn't been opposed to scratching the captain for a couple of games for a bunch of different reasons, right? Going into this game, your lines were Forster, Couturier, Konechny. He moved Couturier up to the top line. Tippett, Frost, Atkinson. We still don't know why Atkinson was in. Farabee, Lawton, Delorier playing on the third line. Cates, Paling, Hathaway. That means no Bobby Brink. So Atkinson plays over Brink. Defensively, it went, I think, the way that you would think. York and Sanheim, Sealer, Drysdale, Zamula, and Johnson.
Zamula had a rough early start. Someone asked if they put Yinning and Adard in ahead of those two guys. I don't know.
I feel like Adard and Ginny have actually played okay
they
together.
Have, but then, you change the trajectory when you do. They're just younger guys. And again, I mean, if you're going to be a playoff team, that's not who you put in right now.
Yeah. The decision to play Atkinson, who, I mean, again, if we're going off of you earn your playing time, he has not done anything to earn the time. Was this an ultimate knee-jerk move, a desperation move to kind of go back to the lineup from October in the hopes that playing the vets was going to give you the jolt you needed?
Absolutely.
Was it the right call to play an Atkinson over a Brink or a Lixell?
Well, no, because those guys aren't in October shape. They've gone through, Coots has gone through the year, and Atkinson's gone through the. Atkinson just doesn't have it now. I don't think he's got an injury or something's going on, but he just can't get to the spots you're supposed to get to.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a shot at him. I mean, he's been a good player in this league, but he's just not. It's not there anymore.
Good guy, well respected. It just seems like the game has, unfortunately, for him and for the team, passed
passes
him
us
by.
all by. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay. So that part is done. I'm not seeing anything else here. A lot of people over in the comments, and we appreciate everybody who tuned in. If you're on YouTube, if you haven't done so already, this is one thing. It's not a qualm that I have. But if you watch on YouTube, if you can hit that like button, that does help.
That would help us. I understand how it's working now. So I used to be like, whatever. But now, smash that like.
Whoa, smash the
whatever
like.
That's what people say all the time.
Smash that
why
like.
is everyone saying it on YouTube?
How many
people say
how
it all
much?
the
How
time.
much YouTube are you watching these days?
I watch quite a bit.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What are your favorite channels?
I like watching like mountaineering shows, like
Oh, yeah.
people climbing Everest and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Now, let's turn the page here from the game for a second. All right, some mountaineering stuff. Anything else?
I'm not doing that though. Don't worry. I've seen enough.
You're not
people
mountaineering?
fall off the cliffs of Everest. I'm
No,
not
no.
doing it. It's like it looks great, and then all of a sudden, like no.
You're not gonna get to the summit and plant the
No, I
snow
am
the
not.
goalie flag.
I
No?
wouldn't get to base camp.
All right, so what else do you watch? What else is on YouTube?
Well,
Apparently, but I'm doing this because apparently the traffic out there sucks because the Phillies game
yeah, I know.
went the way that it did. So what else do you watch on the YouTube?
Not a lot. I mean,
Okay.
a lot of different things. Like top 10. You know, it's just something, Russ. Like YouTube's one of those things sauce on. You put anything on, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
I realize that's how society learns everything today.
That is true. Intern Andrew, I'm gonna pull you up here. What do you watch on YouTube?
Most of my YouTube viewing habits is Barstool stuff.
Okay.
So the Kirk Minahan show. If you guys are familiar with him, no? Podcast Jesus. No. All right. Well,
all right, Intern Andrew.
two Americas.
Yeah, I like David Castleman, World War II stories. Like that's the stuff I like. I like going on there and seeing different, like, interesting historical stuff. I love that kind of stuff.
I haven't seen Two Americas since I put out a Gene Simmons, Jalen Hurts tweet a few years ago.
Remember I got into Harvard, right?
Yeah. They let you through the gate.
They did. I love telling people that. It's true too. Like, really? I'm like, yep. How? I could shoot and skate.
There you go. There you go.
You can't do that anymore, though. Harvard would not be too happy.
It's unfortunate, all things considered, that we have had to resort to this because this was a game. Listen, it was a high-stakes game. It's one that I think they really did need the regulation win. It's good to get the point. If nothing else, you at least picked up a point. But a team that's chasing you with 2 games in hand picked up 2. So they narrow that gap from 5 to 4, and they still have 2 in hand. Now, I noticed that Google is having a really rough time tonight with the periods, with quarters, with scores, with stats across the board against across a bunch of leagues. But if I'm looking at this correctly, which I'm pretty sure that I am, the Flyers and Caps remain tied at 82 points each. The Caps have 2 games in hand. The Islanders 5 points back with 2 in hand. And then over on the other side where the Red Wings, they picked up that win, right, Andrew? Because Google hasn't updated that. But you're telling me that they won. So are they on 80 points now?
They're
or are they
at
on
80.
82?
They're 82
okay,
points.
so are they at 82 now? What were they at before? Were they at 78 or were they? No, I don't know. I don't know if I can trust this right now. But anyway, they pick up 2 points tonight. So realistically, you're in a battle with what, 4 teams, 5 teams for that final for those wild card spots.
I've said before, it's harder getting in than it is being in. You've got to stay in, but when it comes down to 4-team haul at the end, you got to be ready.
Yeah,
I mean it's a Flyers to lose. I mean they're still in it, but they're gonna have to find a way to be better than this.
Yeah, Detroit's at 82, and the Flyers are at 83. They're at 83. All right, I'm an idiot. It's going to be, you know what, Bundy, if nothing else, I don't think anybody's ever said the Flyers are boring. We certainly have not had a boring season down here. The Flyers have certainly not had a boring season on the ice or off it.
They just wanted to talk.
Fedotov was, their 5th goalie this year?
Yeah, they've had a lot.
Redacted, Ersson, Sandstrom, Peterson, and now Fedotov.
Yep.
Yeah, 5. and they still are in line to potentially make the playoffs. What were you going to pull up?
Oh, no, just someone was asking about the Lindros. We talked about it earlier, and again, I think there was a lot of parts of the story that he either wasn't aware of or didn't consider.
Yeah,
it was a really bad take, and it was a really bad.
Yeah, to catch people up, he pretty much said that Lindros said that he thinks the Flyers messed up in the way that they messaged things after the Gauthier trade, that they shouldn't have said that he didn't want to sign here, that they should have just said they really wanted Drysdale, and that's why they traded Gauthier, which is...
I love the honesty. I'm like, all right, I want to play here. Good.
Yep.
Next time he comes in here, people will remind him. I mean, who doesn't want to play here? He didn't.
Him.
So that's exactly right. But what I'm saying is that there were people like, we had significant former NHLers that went to speak to this young man.
Yeah. And he wouldn't
even answer them. I mean, but again, Eric, one of his better friends is Leclerc. Like, could have picked up the phone and said, what happened with this guy? Because I didn't hear a lot of great things about the youngster, especially for the way that he didn't want to spend any time with the former players on a team. So that's crazy.
It's weird. All right, I think that's probably about time for us to wrap tonight. A big thank you to everybody who tuned in live. If you haven't done so, like the video, share the video, subscribe, and ring the little bell. All right, you ring the bell and you get notified whenever we have a new show. Pretty much anything that pops up on the channel. Sometimes it's the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show.
Sometimes it's the morning after for away games, which takes place the morning after the road game. Sometimes it's Snow the Goalie, the Only Flyers podcast. Other times it's interviews that we do, like when we had Danny Briere on a few episodes ago. Sometimes it's Craig Berube who we had on. I have a bunch of other things already clipped up to add to the interview section. There are clips, there are YouTube shorts, all kinds of fun stuff. Subscribe, ring the bell, get notified. Last time I checked, we were very close to 3,000 subscribers, which to some is not a lot, to some is many. And I will tell you that as a small little goal here, I would like to get us to 3,000 subscribers before the playoffs.
All your friends, bring a friend. Hopefully, I'm still planning my playoffs here. Games 3 and 4 will be here, and I'm looking forward to it.
When they pull off that first round upset.
When they beat the Rangers.
Game 4 is the clincher. A nice little sweep. Sweep them out of here. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Time for us to head out. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We will talk to all of you. Boy, Bundy, I guess it's going to be
We'll be in touch
later
Keep an
this
eye
week
on
with
Twitter,
a regular Snow the Goalie.
Instagram, whatever works, yeah.
And then we'll figure out the 2 road games. Need points this weekend. The Flyers have made things interesting, sometimes in a good way, sometimes not. But we are here to cover it all. A big thank you to everybody who tuned in. Subscribe in the podcast feed and on YouTube. For Bundy, for Ant, wherever he is, for Intern Andrew, I'm Russ. Thanks again for watching, maybe even listening to The Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, and above sea level. Talk to all of you very soon.